We're going to come to our last topic, as you heard mentioned earlier. We are going to talk to our panelists about direct provision, but to introduce us, dressed wonderfully in Kilkenny colours, thank you very much, just for me, delegates welcome Annie Waithra-Burke.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and media, I want to take again this opportunity to welcome you all here today and to say thank you for gracing us with your presence. Our discussions in this topic, as Mags has said, is direct provision, citizenship, and online harassment. In the last year, I have been privileged to work and be involved with amazing organizations such as Akidwa, Wazesha, Immigrant Council of Ireland, who have given me the vast knowledge of Irish history, culture, community, and the political system. Although it has been heartbreaking to watch and hear stories of communities campaigning for one of their own not to be forcefully removed and deported, I do find it highly hypocritical for our own government to have an envoy seeking for the rights of undocumented Irish in places like the United States. Yet we have families here who are living in fear of being torn apart and sometimes being taken away from the only life that they know. It is also highly inhumane to have systems like direct provision. We do have vulnerable people coming to seek asylum, but yet we put them in horrible states of limbo for years. It is high time we have an amnesty for those who have been here for more than 2 years, including undocumented migrants. The Labour Party calls for a much-needed reform to this system. This year was one of my proudest moments. I was a contestant in the local elections, but much to my dismay, I did not expect the amount of abuse that I got, from sexism comments, racism, full-blown online bullying. I believe it is high time our laws caught up with the internet and social media, mainly information technology in general. Despite the ignorance and fear and hateful things I have experienced, I will continue to work with policymakers and be part of the decision-making process to ensure real change is made in relation to any of these topics. Thank you.
Annie, again, thank you so much for sharing your experience, your stories, and how wonderful to see you here at conference and with your two beautiful children today. Salome Bugwa, founder of Akidwa, which was already mentioned. You're a gender equality activist, you're a human rights advocate. I mean, I could talk for 20 minutes about just the things that you've done, but have we gotten anything right in this country? Sometimes when we look at the reports and hear reports, it can be very disheartening for those of us who are welcoming.
Thank you so much. And I would like first to thank Reba for giving us the opportunity to speak, but also for choosing the theme for this conference, which is actually equal society, something as a migrant myself who have been here for the last 25 years that I've been talking about and would want us to discuss as a community. Just to say that actually the Ireland of 21st century will be judged by how it treated its people in this 21st century. And it's a high time that the Labour take this opportunity to bring these changes that are needed, meaningful changes that make everybody to feel equal and part and parcel of an Irish society. Just to say that we are very far away from achieving equality. And we will talk about, for example, direct provision. We are far from getting it right. People here maybe don't understand the reality of people living in direct provision. And actually, the actual reality of mental health and psychological impact on children in particular that continue to impact on these people. We have over 1,600 people who are living in direct provision for more than 3 years. We heard from Donna, actually, who have lived in direct provision for 5 years herself. And these continue to impact on people's lives. And they can't actually, even when we have the right to work, for example, which we could proud ourselves that we have, this is also a restricted right We also have people who came here before, they've been here in the country for 4 years, 3 years, and still they cannot work. So that right was restrictive, and it cannot actually match their needs. So we are far away from achieving the rights of people when we talk about direct provision. And of course, we've heard about these outrageous issues of racism and discrimination that people from direct provision continue to get. So we need to work together as a society, as an Irish society that meaningfully want to tackle issues of racism and discrimination and making our society a society that treats people with dignity and respect, regardless of where they are coming from. So direct provision has to be handled in a manner that actually realizes the rights of people and human rights of people, and this needs to be done as a matter of urgency.
Yeah, it's not about rights, it's absolutely about human rights. Pippa Wilno, Immigrant Council of Ireland. I mean, you must be experiencing the same level of frustration that Salome has. And I know you've had urgent calls and different reports. Is there any progress being made?
Yeah, so I mean, direct provision obviously is very much front and centre at the moment, as it should be, because it is such a serious issue, and it is something that we are failing on. The state is failing, local communities are being failed, and most importantly, those arriving in Ireland, seeking support, seeking sanctuary, are being failed. But immigration is about much more than that. Ireland is an incredibly diverse society now. 1 in 8 of us are from a migrant background, and there are many problems with the system. And we had a judge just this week describing the Department of Justice section that deals with immigration as Napoleon from Animal Farm, in terms of a woman who was trying to regularize her status. She had fallen out of status, and she was tried to be honest, and was rejected by the immigration system, and then was rejected on appeal. And as the justice said, what then in this regime, and he called it a regime, would persuade anyone to be honest? And we need to recognise, I mean, Ireland, like everywhere, is a globalised society. People are moving much more. They're coming here for jobs. They're coming here for reuniting with families. There's many systems. And the big issue is the level of discretion. We don't have a strong enough immigration framework. And people call the helpline at the Immigrant Council and say, you know, just tell us what we can do, and we'd like to do it. But we have about 80% discretion and 20% legislative and policy framework. That puts a huge administrative burden on the state, and also leaves a lot of people, we have people calling us in very similar positions being given different decisions. So we need to make sure that it's the other way around. 80% policy and framework, so people know if they come here on a specific work permit or a visa, what they need to do to reapply or to move towards citizenship, which is obviously the goal. So that's the type of recommendations that we've been making.
I also want to congratulate you and your colleagues on the level of political activation that you have worked with migrants around the country, encouraging them to get involved in politics. So thank you for that, because that's how Annie and us met, and many other around the country. So you'll keep that up.
Oh, that's absolutely so important, because a really big piece about equality is integration and inclusion, and political participation is such an important part of feeling belonging and how you belong. So I'll be talking later at the about
one of the fringe events.
Yeah.
Councillor Thomas Phelan, congratulations, newly elected in Dungarvan. And I know earlier in the year, myself and Sheila Noonan visited with Syrian refugees in Dungarvan. It seems to me that your community is very welcoming and has worked out how to live together.
Yeah, I think we could be the model of how to do this. I mean, the refugee orientation centre near me isn't the traditional direct provision model. People come in, it's their first introduction to Ireland, help them acclimatise, and no better introduction to Ireland than the sunny southeast. And as I say, they've been made very welcome. There's an awful lot that Waterford and Dungarvan could be proud of. We've got the Greenway, we've got great food, great scenery, and I think we could be also very proud of the welcome we've given to the Syrians and other people who've come into our country. And that's something that I think the whole country could be proud of as well, if we were to really embrace the opportunity to show that Ireland is a welcoming society and would embrace what people can bring to our economy and to our society.
And Annie, also newly elected, 2 newly elected councillors, different ends of the country, Bettystown and Laytown. And of course, a lot of talk is around Mosney as a centre. So you have visited there quite a number of times. Give me and give our people here an experience of visiting.
So Mosney is in my local electoral area, and I've spent a lot of time there, and I've got great friends there. And I suppose when I go into Mosney and I talk to people there, the number one thing that everyone always says to me is, we just want to start our lives.
Yeah.
We just want to start our lives. We want to be able to begin living. So if you can imagine, one of my friends in Mosney has been there for 11 years. Can you imagine waiting 11 years to start your life? That's not a system. Our system isn't working. They're like, and we do need some help to be able to start our lives. We want to step out of here. We want to be able to contribute. We want to open businesses. There's so much enthusiasm, creativity, experiences that these wonderful people in Mosney want to bring to Irish society. And this waiting to start your life, their children not being sure what's going to happen. Every single week, Senator Jed Nash and I deal with people who are being faced with deportation orders. Imagine waiting years and years of your life to then be told, no, this is the only life that their children know. They've gone to school here, they've been raised here, they've studied here, they've made friends here, they've made family, their family is here. There's a student in DCU who's been given a deportation order. Imagine welcoming someone into our education system, bringing someone through the system. She's early years education. She's going to an extraordinary contribution that she's going to bring to Irish society, and now is being told, hop it. Yeah. Like that is an inhumane system, and that is not how anyone should be living. And that is that. So when I walk into Mosney and I talk to people and my friends in there, the number one thing is we just want to start. And I'm sure anyone who is, we just want to start living our lives. And we're extraordinarily grateful. They're saying, we've been given opportunity, we've been given help here. We're glad we have made our friends and family here. But we want to begin and take ourselves out of this system. We don't want to be in this system. We don't want to be a burden on anyone. We want to begin living, and that is really the number one thing that I hear.
And Salome, tied in with this then is also what you touched on, racism, but the level of online bullying and harassment that must be experienced. We've heard it from Annie. You've probably had experience of it with people that you deal with as well.
Absolutely, and including actually myself, it's everywhere. It's within the social media. It's actually on the website. It's on the Twitter. It's in everything. Just actually this week I spoke in a conference, with one of the organizations which is preparing for the Nairobi Summit, talking about population. And I was talking about Ireland as my country. I don't talk about Kenya because I've left Kenya 25 years ago. And I'm told, go back to your country. I want to do the best for my country. This is my country. But you actually keep on being pushed and attacked every time. It's like, you're not supposed to be here. You better not even talk about anything here. But so many people are investing in this country to do the best and to do the good. But all people see is like, you are different. You're not supposed to be here. Your country of origin, you have not sorted it out. I'm here to sort here out, not there. And so it's actually... It's a high time that all of us, give each and everyone an opportunity to be able to build that inclusive society that we want, that the Ireland that we want to leave behind when we are gone, that everybody will be proud of. So the whole issue of online bullying, hate crime is huge, and we need a law and legal framework that will protect people from this. The Incitement to Hatred Act of 1989 is outdated, and the government needs to do something to ensure that its people are protected fully from these attacks of hate and crime as well.
Thank you. So speaking of life and the slice of life that we have shown you all here today, I really do hope that you go home to your constituencies, to your branch meetings, that you discuss the issues that we've been talking about here further, that you continue to be active and talk about policy and put pressure on, not me, the other people in this room who are the policy makers, and to make sure that we can deliver for these people in making Ireland a more equal society.